I open up about the raw emotions, challenges, and hope for this painful experience that has shaped me into who I am today. I want to take you on a journey of losing my younger brother to a drug overdose in 2004 and how it's shaped me and made me a stronger person today, and how I feel that this is a situation that we need to be talking about more. And we need to be sharing our experiences and talking about grief and how we can turn that into hope if we know somebody who's dealing with this. In this live stream, I will share with you my deep personal journey of dealing with a drug addict and the profound loss and experience of drawing upon my own life experience, offering inspiration and resilience. I'm also going to discuss some key topics that are warning signs that I noticed with my younger brother and that I think all of us need to be aware of. It was 2004. Actually, it was 2000 the year 2000, in March. My mother received a phone call from my brother's best friend's mother saying, "We don't want your son hanging out with our son anymore." My parents said, "Why?" And she said, "Because so and so has been dealing with drug addiction, and being around your son is causing him to relapse." And my parents were like, "What?" So I spoke to my mother the next morning, and she told me that Darren was using drugs. Didn't believe. She was very hurt and sad. And I was traveling on the road, getting ready to meet. I was in outside sales, and I was selling a bunch of hair care products to salons, and I was meeting the vice president of Paul Mitchell. I was picking her up at a hotel, and she was going to be traveling around with my top accounts that day. And nothing took the energy out of me more than hearing those words from my mother: Darren is on drugs. So let's talk about, as I share my journey, I want to cover some important facts. The emotional roller coaster of dealing with a loved one's addiction. I personally don't know what it's like to be an addict, but I know what it's like to live with one. So here are some key signs that you can know, and please share your experience in the comments. And when this is uploaded, if you want to share this on your social media platforms, the more awareness, the better. We can all help. So, key warning signs about mood changes, flare ups, temper, uh, being very defensive, irritable, poor attendance, low self esteem, or behavior problems, not wanting to follow the rules, wanting to break it, thinking it's okay, memory loss or poor concentration, bloodshot eyes. That's a key in seeing that they're dilated. Lack of concentration or slurred speech. Now, let me talk about that for a minute, because myself, being dyslexic and learning disabled, I sometimes have slurred speech. I sometimes mess things up. And when my brother when he died, I was the vice president of sales for a division of Procter and Gamble. And I had sales reps flying in to attend, and my boss flew in to attend his funeral. And I was embarrassed because I was thinking, oh my gosh, like they're going to hear my parents talk about losing a brother to a drug overdose. And I was ashamed. I was ashamed that I had a brother that was a drug addict, because I was afraid of being guilt by association. Oh, if Dennis slurs a little, or if he acts a little ditzy, maybe he's following after his brother's footsteps. That's not always the case, but you need to use your own judgment when determining if you're dealing with a loved one who's an addict. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. Switching friends and not informing your parents or loved ones of new things. So, what are some things that we could do and ways to help people that are dealing with substance abuse? Before I get to that, let me share with you some statistics that are eye-opening. I talked about this in my live yesterday. I was shocked. More than the federal budget for drug control in 2020 was $35 billion. Drug overdose deaths in the US since the year 2000 are nearing 1 million people. 1 million people are dying over drugs and drug addiction. Substance use disorder, or known as SUD, S-U-D, affects over 20 million Americans aged 12 and over. So if you're a teacher or healthcare professional, there's some guidelines that I found from my friend, Dr. Christy Kane. And she talks about ways to help students, educate students about the harmful effects of understanding drinking and drug use, making students aware of alcohol, marijuana, and opiate dangers can help them make safer choices. Share your concerns for their health, wellness, and success in life. Talk about how drugs have destroyed. My brother was a thriving locksmith. He started this trade right out of high school. He quickly had keys. He was running the place. There was 20 employees. They even named a room after him called the safe room when they opened up and expanded and sold safes in the mall. And it was dedicated to my younger brother. He was so respected by so many, but he didn't get involved into drugs until his 20s. So we were educated as children not to use drugs. So that goes to show you, if we were educated, imagine those that aren't educated about drug use. And imagine those that are ODing, overdosing, or using. So let's try to be, substance abuse is nothing to be ashamed of. Hiding it is shameful. Admitting that you have a problem is actually humbling. Share that with a loved one or somebody you know who may be struggling. Because the emotional roller coasters of dealing with loved ones' addictions is not a pretty thing to deal with. Seeing my parents weep and get to their knees and age right before my eyes over a period of 3 years, I saw them add 20 years to their expressions. And this is nothing that I don't talk to them about. They know this. They know that my brother has aged them. And so they don't mind that I share our journey, because my mother, the strongest I ever saw my mother was when she got up at the pulpit at her church and spoke to thousands of people at his funeral. And she had everything written out. And my mother's not a public speaker at all. And she got out from that pulpit and she leaned on the side of it. And she says, forget this sheet I'm going to read. I'm going to talk to you heart to heart, from a mother to a son or a daughter. I was like, whoa. I didn't know my mother had that in her. It wasn't her, it was the Spirit. And today she would admit that and say it was definitely the Spirit that filled that room. But awareness is key. And this is why I'm rambling on my platform. because I prayerfully prayed before I went live. And I said, God, I need your guidance for this. I need the Spirit to be felt so somebody feels the testimony. Doesn't matter what religion you are. There's NA, there's AA, there's Al-Anon for friends and loved ones that are dealing with loved ones with addiction. There's a lot of support out there. But the importance of compassion, education, and breaking the stigma surrounding addiction is one that I'm feeling revved up about. In ways of supporting individuals battling with addiction and their families. Darren was off drugs and then on drugs and then off drugs and on drugs. And it just kept going back and forth, back and forth. And we tried everything. One of the things that broke my heart was when my dad when I called him when I was in a business trip in Columbus, Ohio, and I heard my mother squealing in the background, a screeching sound I have never heard before in my life. It was like a gasp of, I've never heard that squealing before ever in my life. And I knew that was my mommy. I knew it was her. And she was weeping over the loss of her son. Look at these eyes. Like I said earlier, substance abuse is nothing to be ashamed of. Hiding it is shameful. I would have more respect for somebody if they came to me and said, Dennis, I am struggling with alcohol or drug addiction. I need a friend. I'm sorry. Let me go over ways that students and teachers and educators can identify. Use stories, strategies are useful, but they can be hard to understand. Tell students reliable stories about making smart decisions with alcohol and drugs. Stories about the consequences and risky behaviors. Help them build an exit plan. Some students may not be interested in alcohol or drugs, but feel that they must partake to fit in. And that was my brother. He started with marijuana, he told me. And he said, Dennis, I would only smoke it on like Saturdays because I wasn't working. And then it started where it was Friday, Saturday. And then he said my weekend started on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then went to Sunday. And then my weekend started on Wednesday and would go through. And then it became 7 days a week. And when he wasn't getting the buzz that he needed, that's when he was introduced to cocaine. And when he couldn't afford cocaine because he had been fired from his job, rehired, fired again, rehired, fired again, rehired from the same company, he started using crack. And that's what he died from, was a crack overdose, which apparently you can't. I don't understand why, but supposedly it was a bad batch and somebody laced it or did something. I don't know. I don't understand that. But I don't need to because I've let it go. I'm not embarrassed of my brother's addiction anymore. It doesn't dictate how I think people are going to perceive me if I'm acting a little silly. Doesn't at all. So distribute educational materials at parent-teacher conferences or orientation nights. These can include handouts on how to have conversations with kids and teenagers, companion postcards, or talking about opiate abuse directly to parents. Invite mental health professionals to talk about, or even the school social worker or therapist or psychologist, underage drinking and other drug use prevention during an open house. Invite these professionals to present at parent teachers associations, PTA meetings. Conduct a topic specific parent night or school assembly. Kids love to learn about their brains and parents love to learn about their kids. What challenges are your students facing? Post-pandemic stress and anxiety, teenage pregnancy, substance abuse, self-harming. There was a study that alcoholism during the pandemic skyrocketed, or the amount of people drinking. And I will never forget driving down Main Street in Glastonbury, where I live. And this was in May of 2020. We were in lockdown. All of a sudden, there's not a car for miles. And I'm just scooting on along. And all of a sudden, I come to a traffic jam. And I'm like, what is this? There's no gas stations here. There's no grocery store. There's nothing. These are just retail shops, and they're closed. It was a package store. It was an alcohol store that was open. And there was a line of traffic for blocks of people waiting to get in to buy alcohol. That was a telltale sign to me. Wow, I've never seen a line to get in to buy alcohol. Forgive me if I'm ranting, but I'm passionate about this. And I had a strong prompting that I needed to share this. So as I finish I'm going to leave you with some call to actions. Offer mental health professional development or education staff and administration. Equip them with mental health tools, skills for their classroom. We offer teacher-specific training to learn these types of skills. Give teachers tools to use like this manual or infograph facts sheets and digital resources. Teachers build confidence to help their students. Knowledge check. What is the quote, "I am" message? So what is your quote, "I am" message? It would say answer, a simple statement used during challenging conversations to express what a person is feeling, why they are feeling that way, and what they need to manage those feelings. So my call to action to you is if someone you know is struggling with addiction, remember, you're not alone. Reach out for help. Share your story. Find others who have gone through similar situations, and let's support each other on this journey towards healing. I love you, and most importantly, so doesn't God. Thank you for listening, and you can watch this from the beginning as it's uploaded. Bye for now.